What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Real Fans FC. And today we're going to be giving our early World Cup power rankings in February 2026. Obviously, this is right before the March window. We're going to be doing this again after March to kind of see how this shakes up, how the power rankings might change based on what we see in this March window. But I think it'll be pretty good to do right now. We're going to be going through 1 through 10. I mean, 10 through 1, going down from there. And yeah, let's go right into it. So number 10, I have Senegal. Senegal are the reigning African Cup of Nations champions. They beat Morocco in their own backyard, which to me was impressive even in of itself. They also looked great against an England team last summer in Nottingham, beating them 3-1. This is a team that has continued to impress me for the past, like, what, 16 months. They have so much depth. They have so many players playing all over the place. Obviously, they're led by Sadio Mane, but this team just overall has players all over the place. I mean, Nicholas Jackson, who can be a really good one-two punch and has good hold-up play. This is just a team that has the pedigree right now to be really competitive against European teams. Quite honestly, this is probably the most dangerous team to go against in Africa, and that's why I have them cracking the top 10 here. Number 9, we have Brazil. Brazil to me is a team that's slowly falling down the ranks. If you would have told me 2 years ago I'd have them at 9, I would think that you're crazy. But maybe honestly more than 2 years, 3 years ago. For coming out of the 2022 World Cup, this was a team who was easily a top 3 contender in that World Cup, and pretty much with the same players for the most part, obviously a different coach now, they have slowly slid down my ranking. They had a rough loss against Japan, they had a draw against Tunisia. It feels like Ancelotti is still trying to figure out this team and how he wants to run it because it feels like they're always missing one key player in each position, no matter which formation that they do. What still gives me concern is that there's still no striker, still no one who really wants to step up and grab the position by the balls. And but at the end of the day, you have to put them in the top 10 because they still are Brazil. You have to put respect on them no matter what. They still have the talent. I just have concerns, and this is why I'm having them slide down these rankings to number 9 as we sit right now. Number 8, we have Norway. Norway with Erling Haaland, probably the best striker in the world right now. They have been a force offensively, and especially what we've seen from them in their World Cup qualifying group. They've absolutely dominated their group in a group with Italy. Granted, yes, this isn't the same Italy that we saw in the Euro finals, but that Italy was just a weird one-off because ever since then they've just kind of like been middling of the road. They're not the same powerhouse they used to be, and they haven't quite been that way since 2014. But like I said, Norway, number 8, man. I would have thought you were crazy 2 years ago, but the run that they have been on has just been absolutely amazing. Like I said, having the best striker in the world is extremely helpful, but you also have a lot more talent around him too. Obviously, you have Odegaard and you have Oscar Bob, you have a countless other players, and this team is just like, really set up to upset to some teams. Obviously, they handled Italy very well in qualifying. They were by far the better team, but they do have a really important friendly right now against the Netherlands that could potentially boost them in the power rankings leading out of that window. And speaking of the Netherlands, I have the Netherlands at number 7. They had back-to-back draws against a Poland team that was the Poland was the better team in those matches, quite honestly. They did make it to a Nations League final, which helped them shoot up to number 7 to me, but they did lose and they lost to Spain in penalties, which was a very exciting game. And quite honestly, to push Spain to the limits, which Spain, we will talk about them shortly in this top 10 as a little quick teaser. To do that is very, very impressive. And a Netherlands team that I'm not super high on. It feels like they're still in this rebuilding transition phase where they have talent, especially in the defensive side and the center backs, but they're still trying to figure out their identity in the attack while they have some players. It feels like they're just not what they once were 10 years ago. So, but they did make it out of the group. They still are playing really well. They had a great Nations League, but I bounced them down to number 7 based on the performances that I saw from Poland. So yeah, now, the next team we have is Germany. This is a team who's been really good against opposition that they're supposed to be, but have really struggled against some top level competition, not just in Europe, but also we saw them lose pretty badly against the Japan a couple years ago. This is a team that just seems shaky when it comes to like competition that compete with them at a certain level. We even saw it in this past Euros. That team pretty much lived and breathed by Musiala, and when he went down from that injury, it really affected them. They did lose recently to Portugal and France, so But at the end of the day, this is Germany. You have to respect the talent that is on this team. They have players at all levels of the field, but it just seems like they can't necessarily click against that higher level. Like I said, they get the job done. Nagelsmann has done a great job of taking over this team and making them competitive again after a very disappointing 2022. But I still have concerns if they can crack that top five. But we'll see. Like I said, they have some pretty interesting friendlies. The next one is against Switzerland, which I think is a really good matchup for them and see how they play because this is a Switzerland team that is riding pretty high and quite honestly, is a team that just got out of my top 10. I have them around 11, 12. I was really contemplating between them and Senegal, but Senegal getting that cup in Africa Cup of Nations was a big thing for me. And just the recent performance has just been really well. Number five, I have Portugal. Portugal is a weird one for me because Portugal has so much talent. Like they're so good. They have players all over the place. This is probably one of the most talented Portuguese teams that we've seen from top to bottom, including their depth on the bench in a while. Even I would say this team has more talent and all over the place than that 2016 team that won the Euros. Now that may be a controversial take, but I mean, man, this they have a lot of players, man. This team isn't relying on Ronaldo like it once was or a Pepe. This team has pieces all over the place that are playing really, really well. The problem is they can't really piece it together or they're very inconsistent at times, which I would imagine if you're a Portuguese fan, you would be pretty annoyed right now. They have notable losses against Ireland and Hungary, which is like these are games that you should be winning, especially the Ireland game. While yes, Ireland is a scrappy team, you should not be losing that. And you should not be getting a draw against Hungary. Like, come on, Portugal. You gotta this team can be super, super competitive if they can just put the pieces together. But I like them a little. I'm putting them a little bit over Germany because I just think at each level of the field, they just have a little bit more talent than Germany does. Number four, we have France. So France is a weird one because to me, I still I will say the 2024 Euros kind of changed my mind about France. I had France as the best team in the world, the most talented. They had players, they were just so good at I mean, France's third team could compete in the Euros. That's how good they were. But they've kind of struggled recently. Now they have been improving and been playing better, but they still have concerns against. I still have worries about their defense at against higher level opposition. It's a defensive room that just doesn't have the legs as much anymore. It's a lot more. It's they're a lot more aged. They don't really have. They're not really in their prime anymore. Not like the attack is. The attack, I feel like they have pieces that are just high flying. That are obviously your Mbappe's, your Julio Manes, and just so many players up there that can and your Dembele's, of course, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner. But in the defense, they're just they look a little shaky, man. Mike Maignan has been a force back there in the net who's been having to cover them for a while for the past year, really. But, they're gonna be tested a lot in this high powered against high powered attacks, which just gives me a little bit of concern in the group stage for them because they're gonna be facing 2 teams that I have in our top 10 power rankings right now in this video, which is Norway and Senegal, which to me is the group of death. That is such a high flying offensive group. You're gonna see goals everywhere. Can France's defense really hold on? We will see. Number 3, we have England. England is another weird one, man. England could easily be number 1 in this list if they can just make each other mesh. Obviously, now under Thomas Tuchel, they have been a little bit more consistent. They've been better offensively since the Euro final. They are an improved team. I thought their Euro final run was really bad. I think they benefited a lot from the path that they had, but they did make up for it in the most recent friendlies as well as World Cup qualifying. But they still struggle against teams who like to be in the low block. So that could be a chance for some teams like a Panama, like a Ghana, to really step in and maybe make a mess for England because England, for whatever reason, as much as the attacking talent that they have on that team with a Marcus Rashford, Phil Foden, a Jude Bellingham, they cannot. They really struggle against that low blocking teams who like to be defensively solid, and we've seen that recently. But like I said, under Thomas Tuchel, they have been a little bit better. Let's see if they can continue that coming out of this March window. Now, number 2, we have Argentina. Argentina obviously is the reigning champions of the 2022 World Cup, but This team to me has slowly become more and more beatable. It seems like they're still trying to figure out how they want to handle this transition of Messi. Obviously, you can't continue to rely on Messi at the age that he's currently at the level that he's currently playing in MLS. He's not that same guy that he once was. And I'm curious how Scaloni is going to kind of make this team in the starting 11, how he's going to kind of format this team leading into this tournament. Obviously, we have a big window for them in the Finalissima against Spain. So I'm really curious to see how that shakes out at them playing outside of a South American opposition. Because I will say that's one of the downsides with Argentina is, and just CONMEBOL teams in general is that their World Cup qualifying cycle is so long and they play each other so much. Like they don't really get a chance to experiment with teams outside of South America. Um, but even that they're going through this transition period, they have so much good young talent on this team. I'm just curious, how is Scaloni going to play these guys? How are they going to line up? Who is going to start? Are they going to continue to put Messi out there? I do have concerns in the defensive line and the center backs, but for the most part, this team still has players that can at all levels, all positions. It doesn't seem like they have a weak spot really. But I feel like there's so much young talent on this team that's still trying to figure out. Obviously, it's great that they have the veteran presence still on this team, but considering their most recent results in a World Cup qualifying with a loss against Bolivia, which, take that with what you need. I mean, Messi was out. They're already kind of locked into the World Cup. Bolivia's fighting for an intercontinental spot. Take that what you may. But it just seemed like recently in World Cup qualifying, they just feel a little bit more beatable. Now, it might be different considering that we are now entering into a World Cup that's going to be played on neutral ground versus playing in a World Cup qualifying in South America that is brutally tough. But with that being said, I have Argentina at number two. Now, number one, if you haven't guessed already, it is Spain. And on my notes right now, on my notes right now, I pretty much have them. The only thing I have is unstoppable. This team has just been a absolute force to be reckoned with since Euro run. Leading into the Euros, I was like, all right, Spain's a good team, but they're not the favorites to win the whole thing. But my God, did they go in there and just absolutely dominate? They went undefeated. They beat big dogs like France. They beat England. This is a team that's just continued to run. They've dominated a Turkey in World Cup qualifying 6-0 and 3-0. They've just been they've been unbeaten in 26 games, man. This team is so freaking good right now, and they're so young, and this team's just going to continue to get better. There still is a little bit inconsistency in the striker position, but it seems like that they pretty much have it straightened out for the most part. But you can't help but the dynamic duo on the wings of Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal just absolutely being some of the best attacking duos in the world with the left and the right side. Obviously, you have the midfield that is just extremely, extremely deep, regardless of the injuries that they might come across. The one weakness I will say on this team is the center back position. It gives me a little bit of concern, but having a goalkeeper like Unai Simone or David Raya, and a Cucurella on the left side, obviously he's not too much of a defensive player, but at least having those two goalkeepers, you can feel pretty rest assured that they can help stop some goals. Like I said, we have seen them pretty leaky. I mean, we saw in the Nations League recently against the Netherlands and also against France that they have allowed some goals, and that's why I have them as like that's kind of one of their few weaknesses. But the attacking and midfield talent is just so freaking good. It is insane, and they're all young. They're all fast. They all have legs. I mean, I haven't even mentioned that Danny Olmo on this team. Like this team is just running on all cylinders right now. I have a hard time picking against them. It just feels like they are just on such fire that they don't really have any weaknesses. They're not really going through anything. Their transition has been made. I mean, gosh, dude, Lamine Yamal was the runner up in the Ballon d'Or race, and then you also have Rodri, who was the 2024 Ballon d'Or winner. I mean, this team is so freaking good. It's insane. But that's why I'm giving them the slight edge over in Argentina, for example. So if I want to kind of compare the two, to me, I still feel like Argentina's still figuring out how to handle this messy situation and how they want to kind of who are they necessarily going to start in the starting 11 coming into the World Cup versus I look at a Spain and I feel like they are already established to what they're going to do. This is who we're going to be. Yes, maybe against some of the higher level opposition, we're not going to be the most defensively sound, but we have faith in our attack that we can keep games at bay and we can continue to outscore teams. So, with that being said, I feel like Spain has a pretty clear cut identity right now that gives them the slight edge over Argentina. Plus, also considering that they're on a 26 unbeaten streak and Spain has yet to look shaky really at all. If you guys like this World Cup video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe below. I think this was very fun. Obviously, this was a solo video for me, so if you guys want to see more content, we're getting on a roll. If you want to see more World Cup content, we have so many ideas. We're going to be pumping out 3 videos a week, so please feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more World Cup content as well as CONCACAF, because we do focus on CONCACAF being in this CONCACAF region, but we cover all international soccer. So if you like the sound of that, please feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.